Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to discuss about personality chapter in the educational psychology. Disclaimer: the video content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. Chapter 5: Personality, the introduction. This unit attempts to explain the meaning of the term personality. It determines three approaches followed in describing the human personality and their merits and demerits. The characteristics of extroverts and introverts, Freud's psychoanalytical theory of personality, the concept of integrated personality, the three important approaches in the assessment of personality, subjective methods, objective methods, projective techniques, and various assessment methods under each of them, and their merits and limitations are to be discussed in detail. The meaning of the term personality. The term personality has been derived from the Latin root persona, which referred to the facial mask earned by the Roman actor on the stage. It was masked, the face that the actor presented to the audience, and perhaps this mask determined how a person is perceived by others and how he affects other people. But the term personality today means many things to many people, and many people looks upon the personality in a narrow sense as implying bodily or physical attractiveness. Also, anyone who displays in a superlative degree a certain commendable traits is designated as a great personality, indirectly implying that ordinary and average men and women do not have personalities. But psychologically, every individual, whatever be his status in society, is a personality or has a distinct personality. Each person has a unique and relatively stable persisting organization of the characteristics that go to make up his individual personality. Personality refers to the totality of what a person is, which include all the traits, physical, psychological, as well as variety of occurred habitual traits, blended or organized within him in a characteristically unique manner that determine his mode of behavior and his adjustment to the environment. Let's revise the meaning of the personality. Personality is a Latin root persona, facial mask earned by the Roman. It's how a person is pursued by others and how he affects other people. Now it's they are making the personality in the narrow sense, implying bodily or physical attractiveness, and the understanding is a superlative degree certain commendable trait is desired designated as greater personality, implying that the ordinary and average men and women do not have personalities, but psychologically every individual, whatever be the his case, his status in the society, is a personality or has a distinct personality. Each person has a unique and relatively stable persisting organization of the characteristics that go to make up his individual personality. Personality refers to the totality of what a person is, which include all the traits, physical, psychological, as well as the variety of occurred habitual traits, blended or organized within him in a characteristically unique manner that determine his modes of behavior and his adjustment to the environment. So let's move on to the definition of personality. F.S. Freeman defined as an individual personality is the resulting individuality arising out of the interaction of a self consciousness and the intelligent person. It's an interaction of a self conscious and intelligent person and the environment in which he lives. An individual personality is the resulting individuality arising out of the interaction of a self conscious and the intelligent person and the environment in which lives. The same way, the J.P. Gulford, the fact that a man eats, sleeps, and work does not define his personality. Rather, his personality is defined by what he eats, how he sleeps, and what is distinctive about his work pattern. The fact that a man eats, sleeps, and work does not define his personality. Rather, his personality is defined by what he eats, how he sleeps, what is distinctive about his work pattern. The individuality or the uniqueness characteristics of one's personality, the consistent and characteristic way of functioning of an individual reveals his personality. The consistent and the characteristics ways of functioning of an individual reveals his personality. That is what J.P. Gulford says. And G.W. Alport has given a comprehensive definition of the personality which recognizes the value of the wholeness, adjustment, and distinctiveness of the man's personality. According to him, personality is a dynamic organization within the individual of those psychological systems that determine his characteristic behavior and thought. So let's revise the definition of personality. F.S. Freeman, J.P. Gulford, and G.W. Alport given the definition of personality. First, we'll start with F.S. Freeman. Is he says individual arising out of the interaction of the self-conscious and the intelligent person in the environment in which he lives. That is F.S. Freeman. J.P. Gulford is the consistent and the characteristic way of functioning of an intelligent individual reveals his personality. And at the same time, the G.W. Alport says that the value of the wholeness, adjustment, and the distinctiveness of the men's personality. According to him, personality is a dynamic organization within the individual, dynamic organization within the individual for those psychological systems that determine his characteristics, behavior, and the strength. Characteristics of the personality. From the various definitions of the term personality, following facts regarding personality could be arrived at. Personality is a self-consciousness. It's a thorough and the thorough social. It's a dynamic. It's a through and through social. It's a dynamic. It's a product of heredity and environment. It is adjustable and modifiable. It is a unique. It is integrated. Function as a whole. It is accessible. So let's revise a characteristic of the personality. We will just summarize what the three definitions. Personality is a self consciousness. It's through and through social. It's dynamic, product of heredity and environment, adjustable or modifiable, unique. It's integrated, function as a whole. It is accessible. Again, the personality is a self consciousness. It's through and through self. It's a dynamic. It's a unique. It's a accessible. It's a integrated and function as a whole. It's adjustable or modifiable. It is a product of the heredity and environment. Let's start with the uses of the knowledge of the personality to teachers. The personality factors of the pupils affect their learning and performance in the class, and the knowledge of personality, the characteristics of the people is needed to give them the proper guidance. Recognition of the distributed personalities. Some people will help teachers to have immediate recourse to the professional assistance so that the serious difficulties may be averted. Even from a personal angle, much of our time is spent in trying to weigh up the personalities to those around us and trying to influence them or adjusting to them. For this purpose, too, a knowledge of ourselves, our personality traits, and attitudes are essential. Let's revise the uses of the knowledge of the personality to teachers. There are three items. The personality focus of people affects their learning and performance in the class. Recognition of the distributed personalities of some people will help teachers to have a immediate recourse. From a personal angle, much of our time is spent in trying to weigh up the personalities of those around us. For this purpose too, a knowledge of ourselves, our personal traits and attitudes are essential. Let's start with the factors influencing the personality development. The man, the social animal, has both a body and mind. His personality is influenced by biological, psychological, and social factors. The three major factors and the subcomponents are given below. The personality factor is under the personality factor, biological factor is the first one, physic, chemic, and nervous system. Chemic is nothing but endocrine glands, and sociological factor is home, school, language, culture. It's very simple. The last one is psychological factors, is the intelligent emotions, attitude, sentiment, interest, and motivations. So intelligence, emotions, interest, sentiment, attitude, and motivation. Biological is, let's revise. Biological is psych, chemic, and nervous. Social is home, school, language, and culture. Psychological is intelligence, emotions, attitude, sentiment, interest, and motivation. So, among these factors, some are due to the heredity, some due to the environmental influences. Among the heredity factors, most important are biological factors, and some are psychological factors like intelligence. The individual biological constitutes is a predepositing factors. It determines the general direction in which his personality is likely to develop. Let's move on to the biological factors. There are three biological factors in development. They are the psych, chemic, and neurosystems. Let's see in each in detail. Physics is nothing but the height, weight, physical appearance, physical trends, general health, physical deformities, and abnormalities influence the personality of an individual. Not directly but indirectly. The child who is short, saturated, and physically handicapped may develop a feeling of inferiority. The crippled person or emotionally unbalanced. The bodily difference do influence a person's behavior. The fat person may be somewhat lethargic, while the lean and thin person may be a bit more active. Everyone likes beautiful objects and persons. Those who are ugly are discarded. All these things greatly affects one's self-estimations and self-concept, which is intimately related to the development of the personality. And the second one is the chemic. By chemic is mean that people affect the Douglas glands of the personality development. Thyroid glands segregates a chemical known as thyroxine, which is control the rate of growth. When the gland is under active, the individual become lethargic and dissonant, while when this gland is overactive, the individual become restless, irritable, and unstable. The parathyroid gland produces calcium salts. When this gland is underactive, the individuals become excessively high at activity level. When this gland is overactive, the individual becomes quiet and slow in the activities. The other glands like the pituitary, the sex glands, and the adrenal glands affects the behavior of the individual and then his personality. These ducts glands do interlocking activities. They are stimulating one another, inhibiting one another, and compensating one another. They play an important role in bodily, mental, and emotional development. Nervous system. The efficiency of the sensory organs depends upon the well-developed quality of the nervous system, and we know that sensory organs are the gateway of knowledge. Our intellectual efficiencies, physical power, passions, quickness of the adjustments, readiness of acquiring the new modes of responses, our reasoning and thinking all depends on the efficiency of the nervous systems. Any injury to the system will affect the personality of the individual. Let's revise. Biological factors is classified as physics, chemical, nervous system. Physics is nothing but a height, weight, physical appearance. A child who is short, saturated, and physically handicapped may develop a feeling of inferiority. A crippled person is emotionally unbalanced, and the fat person is lethargic compared to the thin person. Everyone like beautiful objects and persons. Those who are ugly are discarded. The chemic is nothing but when the thyroid gland segregates a chemical known as thyroxine. When it is underactive, the individual is lethargic. When it is overactive, the individual becomes restless, irritable, unstable. So the parathyroid glands produces the calcium salts. When this gland is underactive, the individual becomes excessive high at activity level. When the gland is overactive, the individual becomes quite slow in activity. It's inversely proportional. So the parathyroid glands produces calcium salt. When this gland is underactive, the person will be super active. When the gland is overactive, the individual becomes quite slow in activities. And the other glands like pituitary, the sex glands, and adrenal glands affect the behavior of the individual of the person. It's the ductless glands do interlocking activities. They are stimulating one another, inhibiting one another, and compensating one another. So they play an important role in bodily, mental, and emotional development. Nervous systems, we all know our intellectual efficiency, physical power, patience, quickness of adjustment, readiness of acquiring new modes of response, our reasoning and thinking all depends on the efficiency of the nervous system. Any injury to the system will affect the personality of the individual. The efficiency of the sensory organ depends on the well developed quality of the nervous system. We know that sensory organs are the gateway of knowledge. The sensory organs are the gateway of knowledge. Now, let's start with the social factors. Especially the home, school, language, and culture, the most important is sociological factors in influencing one's personality. Home. The different forces which influence the personality is a home area. Home are the different forces which influence the personality in the home are the parent attitudes towards their children. That means the unwanted children, over ambitious parents, they are expecting something beyond their capacities. Parental preference on the sex of the child, male are considered pampering and female neglected. Step parents, loss of anyone or both, are mainly responsible for stunted growth. Number of children in the family, one child and overcrowded. Educational, socio-economic status, telling effect of the personalities. Other factors of the home like breastfeeding versus bottle feeding. Schools, the various factors in the schools are responsible. The personality of the teacher, discipline, opportunities available. A culture, it's a social influence on him like culture group, components, occupation, marriage, and culture difference in living habits like mode of dressing, eating, attitude, marriage, method of bringing up the children, family life, value system belief, effect of molding of personality patterns. These are all the factors which is influencing. So we'll start with the social factors, majorly the home, school, and language and culture. Start with the home. The different forces which influence the personalities at home are the parental attitudes towards their children, the parent rejections, unwanted children's, over protected children, the only child in the family, children left in the care of the servants, etc., lead to the distorted personality developments. A broken home, separate, diverse parents, alcoholic parents, quarrelsome parents, etc., have decisively affected the personality makeup of the children. The over ambitious parents wanted the children to achieve something which is beyond their capabilities. The result will be failure, loss of self respect, feeling of guilt and shame. The parental preference on the sex of the child. Most of the parents have strong preference for the boys in our country. The result in the pampering of the male children and neglect of the female children, which is highly unhealthy for the optimum personality development of the children. Step parents. Loss of anyone or the both the parents, children under the care of the step parents. Children living in orphanages are mainly responsible for stunted growth and personality makeup of children. Number of children in the family, the only child as well as overcrowded home will have different kinds of undesirable impact on the development of the personality of the children. Educational and social economic status of the parents do have a telling effect upon the personality development of their children. The other factors of the home, children's rearing practices such as breastfeeding versus the bottle feeding, early versus late weaning, severe versus permissive toilet training, authoritarian versus democratic way of treatment at home will have a lot to do in shaping and developing the personality of the children. So we have completed the home. Home, mainly the parental attitude, over ambiguous, parental preference, step parents, number of children's, educational, social, economic status, other factors of the home. The next two are the school and culture. In school, the various factors in the schools are responsible in shaping the personality of the children. They are personality of the teachers, discipline of the school, opportunities available for the various curricular and co-curricular activities, size of the school, and the organizational climate of the school. The last one is the culture. The culture in which a child is reared exert a broadest kind of social influence on him. Each individual wants to succeed in his culture group in the three important components: occupation, marriage, and interpersonal relationship. These are largely shaped by different social agencies. The cultural differences in living habits like mode of dressing, eating, attitude of the marriage, method of bringing up the children, family life, value systems, beliefs, etc., are affecting the molding of the personality pattern of the individual. It is also true that geographical differences also contribute to cultural differences, and hence, geographical environment also indirectly plays a role in shaping the personality of an individual. Psychological factors, one's intelligence, motivation, attitude, emotion, interest, and sentiments are the important psychological factors that affects the personality development. Theories of personality. Psychologists adapt the following three major approaches to describe personality. One is the type approach, trait approach, and type come trait approach. Let's start with the psychological factors. One's intelligence, motivation, attitude, emotion, interests, and sentiments are the important psychological factors that affects the personality development. Theories of personality is a type approach, trait approach, and type come trait approach. Psychologists adapt the following three major approaches to describe the personality. A type approach, this approach to personality attempts to classify the people according to their psychosomatic types or some central themes like leadership styles and values. Type approach. The approach to the personality attempts to classify people based upon the central themes. Classify people based on the central themes. That is the type approach. Trait approach attempts to list a number of basic personality traits, and the personality of an individual can be described by the portion on a 7 to 9 point scale in each of these units. A trait approach attempts to list a number of basic personality traits, and the personality of an individual can be described by its portion on a 7 to 9 points scale in each of these units. The type come trait approach. This approach integrates a type and the traits approach to describe the individual personality. In this hierarchical approach, starting with the basic categories of the personalities, the corresponding traits for each personality categories are identified in the next level and finally end up with specific behavioral responses for the each traits. The Aysenck's theory of personality is a typical example of this approach. The type come trait approach, the typical example is Aysenck's theory, Eysenck. Aysenck's theory of personality is a typical example of this approach. It's a integrating the type and the trait approach. In this approach, the basic categories of personality, the corresponding traits for each personality category, are identified in the next level, and finally ending up with the specific behavior responses for each trait. Let's move on to type approach to personality. The type approach to personality attempts to classify people into a few types, each characteristic a certain style of life, which give it a separate identity.